There's a bit of a visa race on at the moment for countries all around the world who are competing to attract digital nomads to their shores, and Asia is no different. In this video, we're going to look at the Bali Digital Nomad visa, or more accurately, the Indonesian Second Home Limited Stay visa. We're going to have a look at the eligibility criteria, what the visa enables you to do, and we'll also look at some of the other options in the region. Aaron here from Offshore in Asia. Now, if you're looking to move out here, if you want to invest here or do business out here in Southeast Asia, well, we can help you make it happen. So you can head over to our website, offshoreinasia.com. You can book in a free discovery call and we can have a chat and look what we need to do to get you out here and get you cracking. Bali has long been a favorite holiday destination for a lot of people, but more in particular for Australians. If you're Australian, Bali has always been, for a lot of people, the first place you will go on an international holiday. It's a little bit like our version of Mexico if you're from the States. I went over there for the first time in 1994 on a family holiday when I was just a kid, and I just loved it. I just couldn't believe this place. I couldn't believe it was on Australia's doorstep. It was just so fascinating, so interesting. And I've loved Asia ever since, and I've kept going back ever since. Back in the day, the place to be for the young people looking to kick up their heels and have a good time was Kuta Beach. I think these days, you'd probably say that, especially with the digital nomad crowd, it all seems to be centered around Canggu. Canggu has really come up in the last few years as a premier digital nomad destination in Asia, if not the world. So it's already been very popular with travelers of all ages for a number of years, and people have been working there for a number of years, working remotely. It's not quite legal, but it's always been tolerated by the authorities. But the good thing now is Indonesia has an official digital nomad visa, which makes it legal to live and work there. Well, you can do some kinds of work, you can't do all kinds of work. We'll get into that afterwards. So the visa is for the whole of Indonesia, but for a lot of people, the place they're really interested in will of course be Bali. Now, the visa allows you to stay in the country for 5 years, and you have to pay a 21 million rupiah fee to get started. That's about $1,400 US. And you also have the option of paying an additional fee in order to bring your immediate family out with you to live here in Bali. Now, this visa is all about enabling people to work legally in Indonesia, but there are a couple of caveats on that. So if you are providing services to people within Indonesia, technically that's not covered with this visa, and it's the same if you wanted to work here for a local Indonesian company. The visa isn't set out for that. Technically you'd need a work permit to do that. What the visa is set out for is if you have if you're running a freelancing business or any kind of business and your customers are offshore, they're outside of the country, they might be in the US, in Europe, in Australia, wherever, that's all good. Or if you are working remotely for a company that is based in another country outside of Indonesia. So that's what this visa is all about. It's all about bringing people in, but at the same time, not taking jobs away from the locals. So it's pretty much set up for people who want to come in and earn foreign sourced income, either from an offshore employer or from offshore clients. There's two main eligibility criteria for people applying for the Bali Digital Nomad visa. The first way to do it is with a bank deposit of 2 billion Indonesian rupiah. It's about 130,000 US, and you have to deposit that into an Indonesian state-owned bank. It has to sit in the bank untouched for the whole time that you're in the country under the digital nomad visa. You can earn interest on it while it's there, and then when you do leave, you can cash it out and take your money with you. The second way to be eligible for this program is for the same amount of money, 2 billion Indonesian rupiah, but this time, instead of having a bank deposit, you can use it to buy luxury real estate in Indonesia. Now, the definition of luxury real estate for the purposes of this visa is simply a property that costs at least 2 billion rupiah. But there are a couple of technicalities on that, so let's have a quick look at that. Now, the property must have a status of hak pakai. A hak pakai property is a renewable form of ownership, and it's not to be confused with a more common hak sewa, which is leasehold property. So you've got to be a little bit careful there. And also the property has to be owned outright, so there can't be any mortgage on it. You have to own it free and clear. So I would suggest if you're looking to enter Bali on the Indonesian Second Home Limited Stay visa, and if you want to go for option 2, using the property purchase to be very careful here. Make sure you speak to a lawyer. If you want, we can help you with that. But you have to be very careful that you don't go out and spend your 130,000 US dollars approximately and end up buying a property that is of the wrong title type, being a leasehold and not rather a hack-pack-eye title. Because if you get that wrong, you could end up with a property and no visa. Some of the other requirements include having at least 36 months validity on your passport. You need to have a copy of your CV, your resume. You need to be fully vaccinated for COVID, and you need to have adequate health insurance. Right, so who is the Bali Digital Nomad visa good for? Well, it was initially aimed and branded towards digital nomads, of course, but it's not really a great fit, or not at least for digital nomads who are at the beginning of their journey. If they don't have that much money behind them, if they don't have 130 grand that they're willing to tie up in the bank for 5 years, then it's not so good for people like that. So it's more for retirees, investors, and remote workers, and digital nomads who are more established in their careers, who have a bit of money put aside, and they're willing to put that money in the bank. They're happy to tie it up. They're earning interest, and they can take the money with them when they leave. So the money's not lost. It's still your money, but you have to be happy to have it sitting there and not access it for the time you're in the country. So if you want to come out to Asia, if you're looking for perhaps a plan B to get away from your home country, if you don't like how things are going back in the West, this can be good for you. If you want to set up a home base or a second home to further your interests, your business interests and investments in Asia, this can be good for you as well. Or if you just want to live in paradise. Now, if $100,000 odd is just out of the question for you, the good news is there are other options in the region. The main one that comes to mind is the Malaysian Digital Nomad Visa, or the D-Rantau Nomad Pass. For this one, you only need to prove that you have $24,000 a year of income. There's no asset requirement for this one. So as long as you can pay your way, earning that amount of money, then you can stay in Malaysia for 2 years. Malaysia might not be the first choice for some people who really love Bali, but it's still a very central location where you can set up your residence there and then use that as a springboard to other parts of Southeast Asia. Now, if you have a bit more money, there's also the Thailand Digital Nomad Visa, or the long-term resident visa. We made a video about this one. I'll put a card up above if you want to check that out. This one is more probably aimed at wealthy foreigners. If you earn at least 40,000 US a year and you have a master's degree, you can get into the program that way. But if you're just sort of a regular Joe digital nomad, then that one might be a bit tricky for you. Now, the other option that comes to mind is in the Philippines. They have an investment visa. The rules are for that if you have $75,000 that you're willing to invest in the Philippine stock market, then you can live there on a renewable visa, renewed annually, and you can live there indefinitely as long as you maintain that investment. So that's a pretty good option as well if you've got a bit of cash on hand. All right, so wrapping it up here, guys, on the Indonesian second home limited stay visa. So it's a 5-year visa that can be renewed for a further 5 years, provided you maintain that $130,000 approximate bank deposit in an Indonesian state-owned bank. Now, this one had a lot of people excited. As I was saying before, Bali is one of the main digital nomad hotspots of Asia. It really has, Canggu in particular, really has given Chiang Mai a run for its money. So a lot of people were very excited about this when word started to spread that Indonesia was working on a digital nomad visa. Unfortunately, some people will be disappointed. It's not so good for the digital nomads starting out, but for the more established nomads and remote workers, it still can be a very good option for you, getting you potentially 10 years in the country. And for anyone who's ever been there in recent years, they would know that Bali has an absolutely booming expat scene and nomad scene. There's a lot of people moving out here, starting businesses, making money, opening restaurants, opening hotels, but also providing services to people offshore. So there is a lot going on out here. Bali does have a really bright future ahead of it. From the time I first went there to today, it's only gone from strength to strength, and I can only really see that continuing into the future. Now, there was a little bit of talk as well about this visa potentially superseding and making redundant the existing retirement visa, and that has had people on the retirement visas in Indonesia quite worried. If that does happen, that would potentially mean that a lot of those people, depending on whether the old system is grandfathered in or not, they may be forced to leave the country if they can't stump up the cash to stay on this new visa. So there's a couple of things going on there that isn't quite clear just now. We're gonna have to wait and see how things play out. But other than that, guys, if you are interested in learning more about Bali or anywhere in Asia, head over to our website, offshoreinasia.com. You can book in a free discovery call. You can hit us up on the email. We can help you to move your life out here, your money, your business. If you're looking at different tax regimes, how that might play off. If you want to set up a corporation in a certain jurisdiction, how would that affect you and your tax residency? We can help you with all that stuff. So head over to our website and we'll do what we can to help.